Then the fourth malach sounded, and a third of the sun was struck, and a third of the moon, and a third of the stars, so that a third of them were darkened. A third of the day did not shine, and likewise the night. A third of the lights in the firmament will darken, because of the third of the malachim that fell with Lucifer, who was given a light. So since he falls, then that light goes out, and that is a third. A third of the day did not shine, and likewise the night. So that seems to be saying that instead of 12 hours of day and 12 hours of night, now there would pretty much be, like if we divide a third of the day, that would be 8 hours, 8 hours, and 8 hours. So that would mean that there would be 8 hours of day, 8 hours of night, and 8 hours of a darkness that is darker than what we know as night. We could also see it as obviously 4 hours of the day being darker than they are normally, and 4 hours of the night being a lot darker than what we know as night. Also, since the magnetic poles would switching what north and south is, and all of that I mentioned that could happen, may happen, as it seems on the sixth seal, then that would move also the cycle of the sun and the moon, as it seems to be moving, and it has been for several years. And that's why there's certain parts of the world that used to be colder now are hotter, some parts that used to be hotter now are colder. So that seems to be kind of the case in this verse, obviously to a greater extent. And what I mean is that right now, because of the cycle of the sun and the moon, well, the sun, there are parts of the earth that have a longer night when the sun is on one extreme. Obviously the other extreme is in the dark, but on the other half of the year the sun is on the other extreme. So now on that extreme there is a longer day, longer time of light. Sometimes, depending on the place, doesn't even go out. So in a way, if the sun and the moon move differently, then the light that comes to the earth would be experienced by us in a different way. So that could, I'm not saying that that is exactly what is going to happen, but the movement that would cause the switching of the poles could also lead to a third of the light of the firmament not reaching us. Hope that's clear. Obviously, it could be as simple as Yahweh turning off the light of a third of the stars, and therefore we just don't see that much as we used to. That is the simplest, of course. But if we connect it to the previous plagues, then perhaps it's connected to the movement that will happen in the firmament during the sixth seal, that will cause the first 4 trumpets. Verse 13. I think I read the entire verse 12, just in case I did not. A third of the day did not shine, and likewise the night. So like I said, a third in this case of the day, that would be 4 hours. A third of the night, that would be 4 hours. So 3 a.m., which is the darkest time, will become a third darker, and so on and so forth. Verse 13. And I looked, and I heard an angel flying through the midst of heaven, similar to the angel that flied in the midst of the 4 malachim that were in the 4 corners of the earth. I say that just to show how Yahweh, through those things that he says, connects one chapter to the other and an event with the other. And I looked, and I heard a malach flying through the midst of heaven, saying with a loud voice, Woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth, because of the remaining blasts of the trumpet of the 3 malachim who are about to sound. Woe, woe, woe. So after the 4th malach, another malach comes in the midst of heaven, which is interesting because the first four malachim who sounded the trumpet would be representing the four corners of the earth. Then a different malach in the middle of them, in the midst of heaven, shouts this. So like I said, similar to chapter 7, similar to also chapter 4, where the Lamb is in the throne and there are four creatures around the throne. And I looked and I heard an angel flying through the midst of heaven, saying with a loud voice, Woe, woe, woe. So there are three woes to the inhabitants of the earth. Each woe is something that will happen that will cause a lot of pain to certain part of humans. And these woes are actually different. Even though they are connected to the three last trumpets, they are a bit different than the actual trumpets, or what the trumpets cause. So this would be seen as some extra judgments, kinda. Woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth because of the remaining blast of the trumpet of the three malachim who are about to sound. So we will see it clearly later, but the first woe we see that has to do with the, well, actually, let's in Revelation 9:12, it says, One woe is past, behold, still two more woes are coming after these things. So that woe is the woe that a part of the world will feel with the fifth trumpet. So the fifth trumpet brings the first woe, because the fifth trumpet will bring something that will cause people to be tortured for 5 months straight without being able to die. Even if they try to kill themselves, they will try to kill themselves, but death will flee from them. So 5 months being tortured by whatever they are injected with, as the poison of a scorpion, as we read in Revelation 9. The woe is that torture, pretty much, in this case. Then the chapter 11, Revelation 11:14, it says, The second woe is past, behold, the third woe is coming quickly. In this case, the second woe happens, as I just said in Revelation 11, after the two witnesses are resurrected. Now, the sixth trumpet is an army of 200 million entities that will kill a third of the population of the world. That is the sixth trumpet. During that time will come the moment when they will kill the two witnesses. 3 days and a half later, the two witnesses will resurrect, will go up to heaven, and there will be an earthquake, as we read in Revelation 11:13. In the same hour when they resurrected, there was a great earthquake, and 1/10 of the city fell. In the earthquake, 7,000 people were killed, and the rest were afraid and gave honor to the mighty one of heaven. The second woe is past, behold, the third woe is coming quickly. So if we want to see the woe as the actual trumpet, then that would mean that the trumpet, the sixth trumpet, would be the army that kills a fourth of humanity, all the way to the moment when 7,000 people are killed during that earthquake. But another way of seeing it is that the trumpet causes a plague that provokes a woe. So that's why the fifth trumpet brought a plague that tortured people for 5 months, and that was a woe. Now the sixth trumpet brings an army that kills a third of the population, but all of that leads to the two witnesses being killed, resurrected, and then 7,000 people died for pretty much being there enjoying the death of the two witnesses. And that will be the second woe, the 7,000 people killed during that earthquake after the resurrection of the two witnesses. Like I said, we could connect it to also the third of the people dying, but Yahweh mentions the second woe right after the death of the 7,000, so that's why I tend to connect it straight with that event, which is a little bit separate from the third of humanity who dies during the sixth seal, right before it. Then in Revelation 12, 12:11, it says, "And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony, and they did not love their lives to the death. Therefore rejoice, O heavens, and you who dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and the sea. For the devil has come down to you having great wrath, because he knows that he has a short time." So here, scripture is talking about the few and the many who are harvested during the seventh trumpet. The seventh trumpet is the harvest, the transformation. That is what the trumpet is. But that will bring a woe on the earth to the many, to the many who will die during the Great Tribulation, but mainly to those who reject the entire doctrine of the two witnesses in every way. For the devil, Satan, will fall to the earth and fool everyone into accepting him as the Almighty on earth, as Christ, as some will call him. The enemy will fall to the earth and will go and try to kill the chosen few. Yahweh will not allow that, will save them, transform them, but then he will go and kill the many during 30 days, as prophesied in Hosea 5:7. So that's why it says, "Therefore rejoice, O heavens, the few who are in heaven," as Revelation 15 shows, singing the song of the Lamb and Moshe. "And you who dwell in them," the chosen few and the Malachim. "Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and the sea," meaning the many, the earth, and the nations, the sea. "For the devil has come down to you having great wrath, because he knows that he has a short time." He will have 1,290 days. So since to Satan, to Lucifer, he used to experience as one day what a human would experience in 1,000 years, imagine what he will feel when he has to experience only 1,260 human days left, which to him, and let me just do that for a moment. So 41.6, that would be 41 years and a half, would be 1 hour to Satan. And what I'm saying is because Satan is an angel that is in heaven, and in heaven, that's how time goes according to what Yahweh tells us in scriptures. So when he falls to this earth, he will begin to experience time according to human time, according to the human mind. So since 41 years and a half is 1 heavenly hour of the second heaven, but he will only be with that authority for 3.5 years. That will be pretty much 5 minutes. Yeah, pretty much a little bit less than 5 minutes. So to the way Lucifer has experienced time throughout creation, to what he will experience when he enters a human body and reveals himself as the Christ people have been waiting for, to him that will be pretty much 4 minutes and a half, 5 minutes what he will have left. So that's nothing. That's why he will come down with such great wrath, having great wrath, because he knows that he has a short time. Now going back to Revelation 8, "And I looked, and I heard the Malach flying through the midst of heaven, saying with a loud voice, Woe," which would be the torture of the 5 months. Then the second woe, which would be the 7,000 dying during an earthquake that destroys 1/10 of the city where the two witnesses are killed, which would be Jerusalem, also known as Sodom, spiritually speaking. And the third woe, when Satan falls to the earth and kills the many during 30 days and then goes to destroy the rest of the world. So woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth because of the remaining blast of the trumpet of the 3 angels who are about to sound.